When my sister walked into my house with that fake smile and asked me to sign what she called just a formality, I had no idea I was about to lose $5 million. But what she didn't know was that karma doesn't forget. And sometimes, the universe has a way of teaching lessons that no courtroom ever could. This is my story. A story about trust, betrayal, and the moment everything changed. I never thought winning the lottery would ruin my life. Most people dream about it. They imagine the cars, the houses, the freedom, but nobody warns you about what happens to the people around you. Nobody tells you that the sister you've loved your whole life might become someone you don't recognize anymore. My name is Rachel, and this is the story of how I won $5 million and lost everything that mattered. Or at least, that's what I thought at the time. I'm 52 years old now, and I've learned that sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the greatest blessings. But back then, on that cold Tuesday morning in March, I was just a woman who bought a lottery ticket on a whim. I'd stopped at the gas station on my way home from my cleaning job. My feet hurt, my back ached. I'd been scrubbing floors for 8 hours straight, and all I wanted was to get home, make some tea, and watch my favorite cooking show. But something made me buy that ticket. Maybe it was the way the sun hit the lottery machine. Maybe it was just fate. I picked the numbers without thinking. My birthday, my late husband's birthday, the day we got married. Random numbers that somehow added up to $5 million. I didn't check the ticket right away. It sat in my purse for 3 days. I only remembered it when I was cleaning out my bag, looking for a coupon I thought I'd saved. I almost threw the ticket away with some old receipts. But something made me pause. I remember standing in my tiny kitchen, holding that piece of paper up to the light, comparing the numbers on my phone screen to the numbers printed on the ticket. One matched. Then two, then three. My hands started shaking. 4, 5, 6, all of them, every single number. I sat down on the floor right there in the kitchen and cried. Not tears of joy exactly, more like shock, relief, fear, all mixed together. I'd been struggling for so long. Ever since my husband Daniel passed away 5 years ago, I'd been working 2 jobs just to keep the house, just to pay the bills, just to survive. And suddenly, in one moment, everything could change. The first person I wanted to call was my sister, Jennifer. We'd always been close growing up. She was 3 years older than me, and she'd always looked out for me. When Mom and Dad died in that car accident when I was 19, Jennifer took care of everything. She handled the funeral. She held me when I cried. She told me we'd get through it together, and we did. We got through everything together: her divorce, my husband's cancer, her son's troubles with the law, my struggles with money. We were sisters. We were family. That's what I thought anyway. I called her that night, my voice still shaking. She answered on the third ring, and I could hear the television in the background. She sounded tired. She always sounded tired lately. Her husband Mark had lost his job 6 months ago, and I knew they were struggling too. That's why I wanted to tell her first. I wanted to share this miracle with her. I wanted to help her the way she'd always helped me. Jennifer, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Something happened, something big. I heard her turn down the TV. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm more than okay, I said. I won the lottery. There was silence on the other end, long silence. Then she laughed. Not a happy laugh, a strange, hollow sound. You're joking. I'm not joking, I said. I checked the numbers 5 times. I won $5 million. More silence. Then her voice changed. It got softer, warmer, the way it used to sound when we were kids and she was comforting me after a nightmare. Oh my God, Rachel, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. But something in her tone didn't match her words. I pushed the feeling away. I was being paranoid. This was my sister, my best friend. I want to help you, I said. I know things have been hard with Mark out of work. I'm going to make sure you and the kids are taken care of. You don't have to do that, she said, but her voice got even softer. We're family. Family takes care of each other. She came over the next day. We sat at my kitchen table drinking coffee, and she held my hands and told me how proud she was of me, how much I deserved this, how Mom and Dad would be so happy. We talked about what I should do with the money. She suggested I talk to a financial advisor. She said I should be careful about who I told. She warned me that people would come out of nowhere asking for money. People I hadn't talked to in years would suddenly want to be my best friend. She was protecting me, I thought, looking out for me the way she always had. You need to be smart about this, she said, squeezing my hands. You need to set things up properly. Trusts, accounts, all that legal stuff. I nodded. I didn't know anything about trusts or accounts. I'd never had enough money to worry about those things. I have a friend, she continued. He's a lawyer, a really good one. He helped Mark and me with some things a few years ago. He could help you set everything up properly, make sure it's all protected. I felt relieved. I didn't want to deal with complicated legal paperwork. I didn't understand any of it, and having Jennifer's lawyer friend help me seemed perfect. Family helping family. That would be amazing, I said. Thank you, she smiled. That same smile I'd known my whole life, the smile that meant everything was going to be okay. But looking back now, I can see what I couldn't see then. There was something else in that smile, something hungry, something desperate, something that should have warned me, but I was too happy, too trusting, too naive. I just won $5 million and I thought my problems were over. I had no idea they were just beginning. The lawyer's name was Richard Patterson. Jennifer brought him to my house 3 days later. He was a tall man in his 50s with gray hair and an expensive suit. He carried a leather briefcase and spoke in a calm, professional voice that made me feel safe, like I was in good hands. "Congratulations on your win, Rachel," he said, shaking my hand. "Jennifer has told me all about your situation. I'm here to help you protect your assets and make sure everything is set up correctly." We sat in my living room. Jennifer made tea. Richard opened his briefcase and pulled out papers, so many papers. He explained things about tax shelters and investment accounts and legal trusts. His words flowed over me like water. I didn't understand most of it, but he seemed to know what he was doing. And Jennifer was nodding along, encouraging me, telling me this was the right thing to do. "The most important thing," Richard said, "is to set up a trust immediately. This will protect your money from taxes, from potential lawsuits, from anyone who might try to take advantage of you." He slid a document across the coffee table. "This is a standard trust agreement. It's very simple. Basically, it puts your winnings into a protected account that only you can access. But to make it legal, we need a trustee, someone you trust completely." He looked at Jennifer. Jennifer looked at me. "I think you should make Jennifer the trustee," Richard said. "She's your sister, she knows you better than anyone. And having a trustee you trust means you don't have to worry about banks or strangers managing your money." It made sense. Jennifer was my sister, my best friend, the person I trusted most in the world. "The trustee doesn't control the money," Richard continued. "They just help manage the paperwork, make sure everything stays legal and protected. You're still the owner, you still make all the decisions." I picked up the pen. I should have read the documents more carefully. I should have asked questions. I should have taken the papers to another lawyer, someone who was Jennifer's friend. But I didn't. I trusted my sister. I trusted that she would never hurt me. I signed my name on the line. Jennifer signed below me. Richard witnessed both signatures, then gathered up the papers and put them back in his briefcase. "All done," he said, smiling. "Your money is now protected. I'll file these documents tomorrow and everything will be official." We celebrated with wine. Jennifer hugged me tight and told me again how happy she was for me, how we'd always take care of each other, how nothing would ever come between us. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. That night after they left, I sat alone in my house and felt happy for the first time in years. Really, truly happy. I thought about all the things I could do. Pay off my house. Fix my car. Maybe even take a real vacation. Somewhere warm. Somewhere I could finally relax. I thought about helping Jennifer and Mark. Maybe helping them with their mortgage. Making sure her kids could go to college. I thought about donating to the Cancer Research Center where Daniel spent his last days. About helping the animal shelter. About all the good I could do with this money. I fell asleep that night with a smile on my face. I had no idea that I'd just signed away everything. I had no idea that the sister I loved had just stolen my entire future. The first week after signing the papers was strange, but I didn't notice at first. I was too excited, too busy planning. I'd made a list of all the things I wanted to do with the money, practical things mostly. I wasn't planning to buy mansions or sports cars. I just wanted security, peace of mind, the ability to stop working 16-hour days and actually live a little. Richard had told me it would take about 2 weeks for the trust to be fully processed and for the lottery commission to release the funds. Until then, I just had to wait. So I waited. I kept going to my cleaning jobs. I didn't want to quit until the money was actually in the account. I didn't want to jinx it. Besides, I liked my routine. I liked the families I cleaned for. They'd become friends over the years. I called Jennifer every day that first week, just to talk, to share my excitement, to plan, but she didn't answer as often as she used to. When she did answer, she sounded distracted, busy. She'd say she was dealing with Mark's job applications or running errands or helping her son with something. She'd promised to call me back later, but she rarely did. I told myself she was just busy, that she had her own life, her own problems. I shouldn't expect her to drop everything just because I'd won the lottery. But deep down, a small voice whispered that something was wrong. I pushed it away. On the 8th day, I decided to visit her. I showed up at her house in the afternoon with flowers and a box of her favorite cookies, the kind we used to eat as kids from the bakery downtown. I wanted to surprise her, to see her smile, to feel that connection we'd always had. I rang the doorbell twice before she answered. When she opened the door, her face went pale, like she'd seen a ghost. "Rachel," she said. "What are you doing here?" I held up the flowers and cookies. "I wanted to surprise you. I haven't seen you in over a week and I miss you." She didn't move aside to let me in. She stood in the doorway, blocking it with her body. Behind her, I could hear the TV, the sounds of her house, but she didn't invite me inside. "This isn't a good time," she said. "Mark's not feeling well and the house is a mess." I'd seen her house messy 1,000 times. We were sisters. We cleaned each other's houses, watched each other's kids, shared everything. Why was she suddenly keeping me on the doorstep like a stranger? "Is everything okay?" I asked. "You've been so distant lately." "Everything's fine," she said quickly, too quickly. "I've just been really busy, you know how it is." I didn't know how it was, this wasn't like her, but I smiled anyway. "Okay, well, these are for you, call me when you have time." She took the flowers and cookies without meeting my eyes. "Sure, thanks, Rachel, I'll call you soon." She closed the door before I could say anything else. I stood on her porch for a long moment, staring at that closed door, feeling something twist in my stomach, something that felt like fear, but I still didn't understand why. I walked back to my car slowly. As I drove away, I looked back at her house in the rearview mirror. I saw the curtain in the front window move, like someone had been watching me leave. That night, I tried calling her again. She didn't answer. I left a message. She didn't call back. 2 more days passed. I called Richard's office to check on the trust, to see when the money would be available. His secretary said he was in meetings all day. She said she'd have him call me back. He never did. I went to the lottery office myself. I stood in line for 45 minutes just to talk to someone. When I finally got to the counter, I showed them my ticket. "I won," I said. "I just want to make sure everything is processing correctly." The woman behind the counter typed something into her computer. She frowned. "Can I see your ID, please?" I showed her my driver's license. She typed some more, her frown deepened. "Ma'am, according to our records, your claim has already been processed. The funds were released 4 days ago." My heart stopped. "Released to where?" "To the trust account listed on your claim form. The trustee received the funds and signed for them." "The trustee, Jennifer. Can you tell me the account information?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I'm sorry, ma'am. For privacy reasons, I can only confirm that the funds were released to the designated trustee. You'll need to contact them directly for account details." I left that office in a daze. Jennifer had the money 4 days ago, and she hadn't told me. I drove straight to her house. This time I didn't care if Mark was sick or if the house was messy. This time I needed answers. I rang the doorbell, no answer. I rang again, and again. I knocked. I could hear movement inside. I knew someone was home. "Jennifer," I called through the door. I know you're in there. Please, I need to talk to you. Nothing. I stood on that porch for 20 minutes, calling her name, knocking, begging. The neighbors started looking out their windows. I felt like a crazy person, but I didn't leave. Finally, the door opened, but it was Jennifer, it was Mark. He looked uncomfortable, guilty, he wouldn't meet my eyes. She's not here, Rachel. I can hear the TV, Mark, I know she's home. He shifted his weight. She doesn't want to see you right now. Those words hit me like a physical blow. She doesn't want to see me, my sister, my best friend, the person I just won $5 million for. Why? I whispered. What did I do? Mark looked over his shoulder like he was checking to see if Jennifer was listening. When he spoke again, his voice was low. Rachel, you should get a lawyer, your own lawyer, not Richard. Then he closed the door. I stood there, trembling. Get a lawyer, your own lawyer. That's when the fear turned into certainty. Something was very, very wrong. I went home and tore my house apart looking for the papers I'd signed. I'd kept copies. Richard had given me copies of everything. I found them in a drawer in my kitchen, underneath old bills and grocery lists. I sat at my kitchen table and read them. Really read them. Every word, every line, every clause. It took me 3 hours because the legal language was so complicated. I had to look up words on my phone. I had to read sentences over and over again until they made sense. And when they finally did make sense, when I finally understood what I'd signed, I felt my entire world collapse. The trust wasn't what Richard had said it was. The trustee didn't just manage paperwork. The trustee had complete legal control over the funds. The trustee could make withdrawals, investments, purchases, all without my permission, without my signature, without even informing me. And buried deep in the document, in language so complicated I'd never have understood it without reading it a dozen times, was a clause that said the trustee had the authority to dissolve the trust and transfer the funds to their own accounts if they deemed it necessary for the protection of the assets. Jennifer could take all of it, and according to the document, it would be completely legal. I sat in my kitchen as the sun went down, holding those papers in shaking hands. I'd been so stupid, so trusting, so blind. My sister had stolen $5 million from me, and I'd signed the papers that let her do it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark trying to understand how this had happened, how the person I loved most in the world could do this to me, how Jennifer, who'd held me when I cried, who'd been there for every important moment of my life, could betray me like this. I thought about confronting her, calling the police, hearing a lawyer and fighting. But a small part of me still hoped I was wrong, still hoped there was an explanation, still hoped my sister wasn't a thief. The next morning, I called Richard's office again. This time, I didn't let his secretary put me off. I need to speak to him right now, I said. Tell him it's about Jennifer Patterson's trust case. Tell him I have questions about the documents I signed. There was a long pause, then she said, "Please hold." 5 minutes passed. Then Richard's voice came on the line. Smooth, professional, but I could hear something underneath it now, something cold. "Rachel, how can I help you?" "You can help me by explaining why my sister has complete control over my lottery winnings." Another pause. "That's how trusts work, Rachel. We explained this to you." "You lied to me. You said she was just managing paperwork. You didn't tell me she could take everything." "I'm sorry if you misunderstood the terms. But everything was clearly stated in the documents you signed. If you had concerns, you should have consulted your own attorney before signing." "You know I didn't have an attorney. You know I trusted Jennifer." "That's not my responsibility," he said. And just like that, his voice lost all pretense of warmth. "You signed the documents willingly. You gave your sister authority over those funds. That's legal and binding. If you have any further questions, you can contact my office in writing." He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, listening to the dial tone. That's when I knew for certain. Jennifer wasn't just keeping the money, she planned this from the beginning. The lottery office had released the funds 4 days ago. Jennifer had them, and she was never going to give them to me. I'd lost everything. Not just the money, my sister, my family, my trust, everything I thought I knew about the world. I sat in my empty house and cried, not the shocked tears from when I'd first won. Real tears. The kind that come from deep inside, from a place of pure grief. I cried for the sister I'd lost, for the betrayal that cut deeper than any wound, for the stupid, naive woman who trusted the wrong person. And I cried because I didn't know what to do next. I had no money for a lawyer, no evidence except papers I'd signed myself, no way to fight someone who'd planned everything so carefully. I was alone, completely alone, and my sister had stolen my future. I spent 2 weeks in darkness. Not literal darkness, though I did keep my curtains closed most days, but a darkness of the soul, a kind of grief that felt impossible to escape. I stopped calling Jennifer. I stopped hopping for an explanation. I knew the truth now, and the truth was unbearable. My sister had stolen from me, deliberately, carefully, with planning and malice. And there was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I'd looked into it. Consulted with 3 different attorneys. They all said the same thing. Yes, I'd been tricked. Yes, Jennifer had taken advantage of me, but I'd signed the documents willingly. I'd given her legal authority. Fighting it would require a lawsuit that could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of legal battles. And I might still lose. I had nothing. Less than nothing. I'd quit both my cleaning jobs after I thought the money was coming. I'd been so certain my life was about to change. Now I had no income and 3 months of mortgage payments left in my savings account. After that, I'd lose the house. The house Daniel and I had bought together. The house where we'd planned to grow old. I was sitting at my kitchen table on a Tuesday morning, staring at a pile of bills I couldn't pay when someone knocked on my door. I almost didn't answer. I hadn't showered in 3 days. I was wearing Daniel's old sweatshirt and pajama pants. I didn't want to see anyone. But the knocking continued. Persistent. Finally, I dragged myself to the door and opened it. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. She was 78 years old, a tiny woman with silver hair and the sharpest eyes I'd ever seen. She lived 3 houses down, and I'd cleaned for her once a month for the past 4 years. "Rachel," she said, looking me up and down. "You look terrible." I almost laughed. Mrs. Chen never sugar-coated anything. "I feel terrible. I heard about the lottery," she said. "And I heard about your sister." I felt my face flush with shame. "How did you?" "People talk," she interrupted. "Small neighborhood. Your sister's husband was bragging at the grocery store about their new car, their new boat, their vacation to Hawaii. He got drunk and told people where the money came from." My legs felt weak. Jennifer was spending my money. Openly. While I was here, drowning in bills, unable to feed myself properly. "Can I come in?" Mrs. Chen asked. I stepped aside. She walked into my kitchen, looked at the bills on my table, and shook her head. "How much do you need?" she asked. "How much money do you need to survive while you figure things out?" I couldn't speak, I just stared at her. "I'm not giving you charity," she said firmly. "I'm investing in you. You've been cleaning my house for 4 years. You've been kind to me, patient. You've listened to my stories. You've helped me when I was sick. That's worth something." She pulled out her checkbook. "I'm 80 years old, Rachel. I have more money than I need and no children to leave it to. I'm going to write you a check for $20,000. You're going to use it to pay your bills, keep your house, and hire a lawyer. And when you get back on your feet, if you want to pay me back, fine. If you can't, that's fine too." I started crying. Again, I seemed to cry constantly those days. "I can't accept this," I whispered. "Yes, you can," Mrs. Chen said. "Because you're not a quitter. You've been knocked down, but you're not going to stay down. You're going to get up, you're going to fight, and you're going to survive this." She wrote the check and pressed it into my hands. "Now go take a shower, you smell like depression." She left before I could thank her properly. I stood in my kitchen holding that check, feeling something I hadn't felt in 2 weeks. Hope, small, fragile, but real. Mrs. Chen's gift gave me breathing room. I paid my mortgage, I paid my bills, I bought groceries. And I hired a lawyer, not to sue Jennifer. I'd accepted that I couldn't win that fight, but to protect myself going forward, to make sure she couldn't take anything else from me. My lawyer's name was Thomas Wright. He was in his 40s, kind-faced and direct. He reviewed my documents and confirmed what I already knew. "Legally, your sister has done nothing wrong," he said. "Morally, she's committed one of the worst betrayals imaginable. But the law doesn't care about morality. So there's nothing I can do." He paused. I didn't say that, I said you can't sue her, but there might be another way. He leaned forward. Your sister and her lawyer committed fraud. They lied to you about the nature of the trust. They deliberately misrepresented the documents to trick you into signing. That's fraud, and fraud is a crime. My heart began to beat faster. The problem, Thomas continued, is proving it. You'd need evidence, recordings, witnesses, documentation that shows they deliberately deceived you. I thought about Mark's face when he'd told me to get my own lawyer, about the guilt in his eyes. What about her husband? I asked. If he testified, if he confirmed that Jennifer and Richard planned this, Thomas nodded slowly. That could work, but would he testify against his own wife? I didn't know, but it was worth trying. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Mark. He didn't answer. I texted him, please. I need to talk to you, just 5 minutes. I know you feel guilty. I know you know this is wrong, help me, please. He didn't respond that night, or the next day. I thought I'd failed, that he'd chosen Jennifer over what was right, but 3 days later he called. Meet me at the coffee shop on Miller Street, he said. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., don't tell anyone. I arrived at 8:45. Mark was already there, sitting in a back corner booth. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in weeks. I sat down across from him. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. She's changed, he finally said. The money changed her. I didn't say anything, I just waited. It was my fault, Mark continued. I lost my job, we were drowning in debt, I was drinking too much, feeling worthless, and then you won the lottery and Jennifer saw a way out. He stared into his coffee cup. She came to me with the plan, she'd already talked to Richard. They worked everything out. She said we deserved the money more than you did, that you didn't have kids, that you didn't need it the way we did, that you'd be fine. And you believed that? I asked quietly. I wanted to believe it, he said. I wanted to believe we weren't doing anything wrong, that it was just temporary, that we'd help you too eventually, but that's not what happened. What happened? She spent it, all of it. New car, boat, house renovations. She's talking about buying a vacation home. She's spending money like it's endless. And she doesn't care that you're suffering. When I brought you up, when I said we should at least help you with your mortgage, she laughed at me. He looked up and I saw tears in his eyes. She said you were stupid for trusting her, that you deserved to lose the money for being so naive. Those were her exact words. The pain of hearing that was worse than anything else. My sister thought I was stupid, thought I deserved this. I'm so sorry, Rachel, Mark whispered. I should have stopped her, I should have warned you, but I was weak. I'm still weak, but I can't watch this anymore, I can't be part of it. Will you testify? I asked. Will you tell a prosecutor what you just told me? He closed his eyes. If I do, she'll leave me, she'll take the kids, she'll make sure I never see them again. If you don't, I said gently, you'll have to live with this forever. You'll have to look at yourself in the mirror every day knowing you helped her steal from me. Knowing you helped her destroy her own sister. He sat there for a long time. I could see the war happening inside him. I'll do it, he finally said. I'll testify, I'll tell them everything, but I need something from you. What? When this is over, when she goes to jail or has to pay you back or whatever happens, promise me you'll help me with my kids. Promise me you won't punish them for what their mother did. I reached across the table and took his hand. They're my niece and nephew, I said. I've always loved them, I always will, this isn't their fault. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. We went to Thomas the next day. Mark told everything. Thomas recorded it all. Then Thomas contacted the district attorney's office. It took 2 months. 2 months of investigation. 2 months of anxiety. 2 months of living on Mrs. Chen's gift and wondering if anything would come of this. But finally the district attorney filed charges. Fraud. Theft by deception. Conspiracy. Both Jennifer and Richard Patterson were arrested. It made the local news. I watched my sister in handcuffs being led out of her house. I expected to feel satisfaction. Victory, but all I felt was grief. This was my sister. The person I'd loved most in the world, and it had come to this. The trial took another 6 months. Mark testified. The prosecution presented evidence that Richard and Jennifer had planned the whole thing. Emails, text messages, bank records showing how Jennifer had immediately started spending the money. In the end, Jennifer was convicted. So was Richard. Jennifer was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Richard lost his law license and got 7 years. The judge ordered them to pay restitution. All of it, every penny they'd stolen, plus penalties and interest. But here's the thing about restitution. Jennifer had spent most of the money. The house she'd bought, the cars, the boat, they were all repossessed and sold. But even selling everything, it only recovered about half of what she'd taken. I got $2.5 million back, not the full $5 million, not even close to what it should have been after taxes and fees, but it was enough. Enough to survive, enough to rebuild, enough to finally breathe again. The day the money hit my account, I sat in my kitchen and cried. Again. But this time the tears were different. I'd survived, I'd fought. I'd won, not everything, not my sister, not the family I thought I had. But I'd won my dignity, my justice, my future. And sometimes that's enough. Getting the money back didn't fix everything. That's what nobody tells you about justice. It can give you restitution, but it can't undo the damage. It can't give you back the person you lost. The night after the money hit my account, I expected to feel relief, joy, victory. Instead, I felt empty, hollow, like I'd won a battle but lost something more important in the process. I'd lost my sister. Not to death, which I could have mourned and eventually accepted, but to her own greed, her own choices, her own willingness to destroy me for money. That's a different kind of loss. The kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about family, about trust, about love. I didn't visit her in prison. A lot of people asked me why. They expected me to go, to confront her, to demand an apology or an explanation. But I couldn't, I wasn't ready. Maybe I'd never be ready. Mark divorced her 6 months into her sentence. He got custody of the kids. Jennifer fought it from prison, but the judge ruled against her. Mark was a good father, the judge said, and the children needed stability. I kept my promise to Mark. I helped with the kids, I babysat when he had to work. I took them for weekends. I made sure they knew that none of this was their fault, that I still loved them, that they still had family. My nephew Jake was 16. My niece Emma was 13. They were devastated by what their mother had done. Confused, angry, ashamed. "Why did she do it, Aunt Rachel?" Emma asked me one night. We were sitting in my backyard looking at the stars, just the two of us. "I don't know, sweetheart," I said honestly. "I think sometimes people get so scared of losing things that they make terrible choices. I think your mom was scared, and instead of asking for help the right way, she tried to take a shortcut. But she hurt you," Emma said. "She hurt everyone." "Yes," I agreed. "She did, and she'll have to live with that." "Do you hate her?" I thought about that question for a long time. Did I hate Jennifer? I wanted to. It would be easier if I did. Hate is simple, clean, but what I felt was more complicated. "No," I finally said. "I don't hate her. I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm sad, but I don't hate her. She's still my sister. And maybe someday when she gets out, we'll be able to talk. Maybe we'll never be close again, but maybe we can find some kind of peace." Emma leaned against my shoulder. "You're a better person than me." "I think I hate her a little bit." I kissed the top of her head. "You're allowed to feel however you feel. There's no right or wrong way to handle something like this." With the $2.5 million I got back, I tried to be smarter this time. I hired a different lawyer, a financial advisor that Mrs. Chen recommended, people I could trust, people who had no connection to Jennifer or her schemes. I paid off my house completely. That felt good, knowing that no matter what happened, I had a home. I couldn't lose it. It was mine. I set up college funds for Jake and Emma, not huge ones, but enough to help, enough to show them that their aunt still loved them and believed in their future. I donated $100,000 to the Cancer Research Center in Daniel's name. I'd been wanting to do that since I first won the lottery. It felt right to finally do it. I gave Mrs. Chen back her $20,000 plus another $30,000 as a thank you. She tried to refuse the extra money, but I insisted. "You saved my life," I told her. "You gave me hope when I had none. That's worth more than money." She accepted it with tears in her eyes. Then she did something that surprised me. She invited me to her weekly mahjong game. "You need friends," she said. "Real friends, not family who pretend to love you. Come play with us. We're all old women who have survived hard things. You'll fit right in. I started going to Mrs. Chen's mahjong games every Thursday night. There were 5 of them. Mrs. Chen, Mrs. Rodriguez, Mrs. Kim, Mrs. Washington, and Mrs. Akoy. They were all in their 70s and 80s, all widows, all women who'd lived full, complicated lives. They welcomed me like I'd always been there. We played mahjong, we drank tea, we ate whatever snacks Mrs. Chen made that week, and we talked, really talked, about life, about loss, about survival. Mrs. Washington had survived breast cancer twice. Mrs. Rodriguez had lost her son in a car accident. Mrs. Kim's husband had dementia for 10 years before he died. Mrs. Akoy had fled a war in her home country and started over with nothing in America. These women had survived things that made my problems seem small. But they never dismissed my pain. They listened. They understood. They shared their own stories not to compete, but to connect. The thing about betrayal, Mrs. Rodriguez told me one night, is that it teaches you something valuable. It teaches you that you're stronger than you thought. You survived the worst thing you could imagine from someone you loved. And you're still here, you're still fighting, that's power. I started to heal, slowly, in small ways. I went back to work. Not cleaning houses this time. I started a small business. A referral service for house cleaners, nannies, and caregivers. I'd learned during my years of cleaning that good, trustworthy help was hard to find. And I knew dozens of hardworking people who needed jobs. I became the bridge. I vetted the workers. I guaranteed their quality. I made sure families felt safe letting these people into their homes. And I made sure the workers were paid fairly and treated with respect. It wasn't a glamorous business, but it mattered. It helped people. And it gave me purpose. The business grew. Within a year, I had 20 people working through my service. Within 2 years, I had 50. I wasn't getting rich, but I was making good money. Honest money. Money I'd earned. Money no one could take from me. I bought a small office space. I hired an assistant. I created something real. Something that would last. Something that was mine, and I started to feel proud again. Not of the lottery win, that had been luck, but proud of what I'd built after everything fell apart. Proud of my resilience. Proud of my strength. 3 years after Jennifer went to prison, I got a letter from her. My hands shook when I saw her handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. I opened it. The letter was short. Only 1 page. Dear Rachel, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask for anything from you, but I'm writing anyway because I need you to know something. I'm sorry, I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix what I did, but I need to say it anyway. I was so scared. Mark lost his job. We were drowning in debt. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. All I could think about was losing everything. And then you won the lottery and I saw a way out. I told myself you'd be fine, that you didn't have kids, that you didn't need the money as much as we did. I told myself a lot of lies to justify what I was doing. But the truth is, I was greedy. I was selfish. I was a coward. I betrayed my own sister because I was too proud to ask for help, too afraid to face my problems honestly. I destroyed our relationship. I hurt you in ways I can never undo, and I have to live with that every day. Prison has given me a lot of time to think, to really understand what I did. Not just the legal part, but the human part. I took your trust, your love, your faith in family, and I threw it all away for money. Money I spent. Money that's gone. Money that was never worth what I lost. I heard you're taking care of Jake and Emma. Thank you. Thank you for not punishing them for my mistakes. Thank you for being the kind of person I should have been. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to write back. I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry, that I understand what I did, and that I hate myself for it every single day. Your sister, Jennifer, I read that letter 3 times. I cried through all 3 readings. Part of me wanted to write back, to tell her I forgave her, to try to rebuild something, but I wasn't ready. Maybe I'd never be ready, so I folded the letter carefully and put it in a drawer, and I went on with my life. I went to work. I played mahjong with my friends. I spent time with Jake and Emma. I built my business. I lived. And slowly the pain began to fade. Not disappear, never disappear, but fade into something I could carry. Something that didn't crush me anymore. Jennifer got out of prison after serving 3.5 years. She was released early for good behavior. I found out from Mark. He called me on a Thursday morning, his voice careful, gentle, like he was delivering bad news. "She's out," he said. "I thought you should know." "Thank you," I said. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. "Is she coming back here?" "No," Mark said. "She's moving to Oregon. She has a friend there who offered her a place to stay. A job. She's not fighting for custody of the kids. She signed papers giving me full parental rights." "That's good," I said, and I meant it. Jake and Emma had built a stable life with their dad. They didn't need their mother disrupting that, not yet, maybe not ever. "She asked about you," Mark said quietly. "She wanted to know if you'd received her letter, if there was any chance you'd want to talk to her." I closed my eyes. "I got the letter, and I don't know, Mark, I'm not angry anymore, but I'm not ready either." "That's fair," he said. "I'll tell her." 3 weeks later, I got a package in the mail, no return address, but the postmark was from Oregon. Inside was a small wooden box, handmade, beautiful, and a note. "Rachel, I made this in prison. It's one of the few skills I learned there that's actually useful. Woodworking, I made this box thinking about you, about us, about everything we lost. Inside is something I want you to have, not because it fixes anything, it doesn't, but because you deserve to know the whole truth." Jennifer, I opened the wooden box. Inside was a flash drive and another letter. This letter was longer, dated years ago, before the lottery, before the betrayal. It was a letter I'd written to Jennifer during a particularly hard time after Daniel died. A letter where I'd poured out my heart, where I'd told her how much she meant to me, how grateful I was to have her as my sister, how I didn't think I could survive without her. I didn't remember writing this letter, but seeing it now, seeing my own handwriting from years ago, broke something open inside me. Jennifer had kept it. All this time, through everything, she kept this letter. The flash drive contained videos. I plugged it into my laptop and watched. They were recordings Jennifer had made in prison. Journal entries, she called them. Videos of her talking to the camera, working through her guilt, her shame, her understanding of what she'd done. I watched her transform over 3 years. From defensive and self-justifying in the early videos to broken and genuinely remorseful in the later ones. In the last video, dated a week before her release, she looked directly at the camera. At me. "Rachel," she said, "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that you changed my life in ways you'll never understand. Not the money, the way you handled everything after." She took a shaky breath. "You could have been cruel. You could have turned Jake and Emma against me. You could have celebrated my imprisonment. But you didn't. You took care of my children. You made sure they knew I was sick, not evil. That I'd made terrible choices, but that people can change. That I was still their mother, even if I'd failed them." Tears streamed down her face. "You showed them grace. And in doing that, you showed me what real strength looks like. What real love looks like. You became the person I always thought I was. And I became the person I'd always feared I might be." She wiped her eyes. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better, trying to earn back even a fraction of the respect I lost. Not from you. I know I'll never have that again, but from myself. Because if I can't respect myself, then everything I put you through was completely meaningless." The video ended. I sat in my living room, staring at the blank screen, crying. Not tears of anger or pain, tears of release, of letting go, of understanding. Jennifer had been broken too. Different from how I'd been broken, but broken nonetheless. And in her own twisted, terrible way, maybe what happened had to happen. Maybe we both needed to be destroyed to become who we were supposed to be. I didn't call her. I wasn't ready for that, but I did something else. I wrote her a letter. "Dear Jennifer, I got your package. The box is beautiful. Thank you for the letter and the videos. I'm not ready to see you. I don't know if I ever will be, but I want you to know that I don't hate you. I did for a while, or I thought I did. But really, I was just hurt. Devastated, betrayed in a way I didn't know was possible. What you did changed me. It made me suspicious of people, afraid to trust, afraid to be vulnerable, but it also made me stronger. It taught me that I could survive things I never thought I could survive. It taught me that family isn't just blood, It's choice, it's action, it's showing up. Mrs. Chen showed me more love with her check than you did in 40 years of being my sister. Mark showed me more loyalty by testifying than you did by staying silent. My Thursday night mahjong group gave me more family than I'd ever had. These people weren't related to me, but they chose me. They supported me. They loved me without expecting anything in return. That's real family. I'm building a good life now. A life I'm proud of. A business that matters. Friendships that are real. I'm taking care of Jake and Emma. I'm honoring Daniel's memory. I'm happy. Not the careless happiness I had before all this, but a deeper happiness. One that comes from knowing I can survive anything. I hope you build a good life too. I hope you find peace. I hope you become the person you want to be, but I need you to understand something. We will never be what we were. That sister relationship died the day you decided to steal from me. We can't resurrect it. We can't pretend it didn't happen. But maybe, someday, we can build something new, something smaller, something honest. Not sisters in the way we used to be, but two women who share a history, who made mistakes, who hurt each other, who survived. For now, I need distance. I need time. Maybe in a few years we can talk. Maybe we can sit across from each other and have coffee like civilized adults. Maybe we can find some kind of forgiveness, but not today. Today I'm still healing. And that's okay. I wish you well, Jennifer. I really do, Rachel. I mailed the letter the next day. I didn't wait for a response. I didn't need one. That letter was for me, for my own closure, for my own peace. 2 months later, Mrs. Chen had a stroke. She survived it, but it left her weak, unable to live alone anymore. Her nephew wanted to put her in a nursing home. She called me from the hospital, her voice small and scared. Rachel, she said, I don't want to go to a home, please. You're not going to a home, I said immediately. You're coming to stay with me. She moved into my spare bedroom, the room I'd always kept for guests who never came. I took care of her the way she'd taken care of me. I made her tea. I helped her with physical therapy. I sat with her during her bad days. We played mahjong at my kitchen table, just the two of us at first, then with the other ladies from our Thursday group. My house became full of laughter, full of stories, full of life. You didn't have to do this, Mrs. Chen said one night. We were sitting in the living room watching some cooking show she loved. Yes, I did, I said. You saved my life. This is the least I can do. No, she said firmly. I gave you money. You saved your own life. You fought. You didn't give up. You did that, not me. She reached over and took my hand. You're going to be okay, Rachel. Better than okay. You're going to be extraordinary. She died 6 months later, peacefully in her sleep in my spare bedroom. At her funeral, I met her nephew. He thanked me for taking care of her, for giving her a good end to her life. She left you something, he said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a letter from Mrs. Chen and the deed to her house. She left me her house. The house 3 doors down from mine. The house I'd cleaned for 4 years. The house where we'd first become friends. Her letter was short. Rachel, this house is yours. Not because you took care of me, but because you deserve it. You deserve to have something that's completely, totally yours. Something no one can take from you, sell it, rent it, live in it, I don't care, but it's yours. You're the daughter I never had, the friend I always wanted, the family I chose. Thank you for letting an old woman love you. Thank you for loving her back. Live well, my dear, live fully, live without fear, you've earned it. With all my love, Mrs. Chen. I sat in her house after the funeral in her living room where we'd played so many games of mahjong, and I cried. But these tears were different from all the others. These were tears of gratitude, of love, of understanding. I'd lost my sister, but I'd gained something so much more valuable. I'd gained myself, my strength, my resilience, my ability to survive, to thrive, to build a life worth living. I rented out Mrs. Chen's house to a young family. A mother and 2 kids escaping an abusive situation. I charged them half what I could have gotten on the open market, because Mrs. Chen would have wanted me to help someone who needed it. My business continued to grow. I hired more people. I helped more families. I made a difference in small, quiet ways. Jake graduated high school and went to college. Emma followed 2 years later. They both thrived. They both knew they were loved. Mark met someone new. A kind woman who treated his kids well. I was happy for him, he deserved happiness. And me, I dated a little, nothing serious. I wasn't sure I'd ever want serious again, but I had friends. Real friends, I had purpose, I had peace. 5 years after Jennifer went to prison, she sent me a card, just a simple Christmas card with a short note inside. I'm doing well, working at a woodshop, making furniture, building a quiet life. I hope you're happy. That's all she wrote. No requests, no demands. No attempts to rebuild what we'd lost. Just a simple wish for my happiness. I put the card on my mantle next to a photo of Mrs. Chen and me at one of our mahjong games. I looked at both of them, the sister who'd betrayed me, the friend who'd saved me, two women, two very different kinds of love, and I realized something. Jennifer's betrayal had been the worst thing that ever happened to me, but it had also led to the best things. To Mrs. Chen, to my business, to my real friends, to my strength, to understanding what family really means. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I also wouldn't trade who I'd become for anything. That night, I sat down and wrote one more letter, this one to myself. Dear Rachel, you survived, you fought, you built something beautiful from something terrible. You learned that family is choice, that strength is quiet, that forgiveness is possible, even when reconciliation is. You learned that the worst betrayals can lead to the greatest growth, that losing everything can teach you what really matters. You learned that you're enough, just as you are, without money, without a sister, without anyone's approval but your own. You're enough, you always were. You just had to lose everything to realize it. Keep living, keep building, keep loving carefully but fully. Keep being kind, keep being strong, keep being you. Because you, Rachel, are extraordinary, not because of what you survived, but because of how you survived it. With love and pride, Rachel. I folded the letter and put it in Mrs. Chen's wooden box, the one Jennifer had made, a reminder of both women, of what I'd lost and what I'd gained, of who I'd been and who I'd become. Then I made myself tea, sat in my living room and watched the sun set through my window. Tomorrow I'd wake up and go to work. I'd help people, I'd build my business, I'd live my life. But tonight I just sat, content, grateful, whole. I'd won the lottery twice. Once with $5 million that was stolen. Once with the strength to survive the stealing. The second lottery was the one that mattered. The second lottery was the one that changed everything. And nobody, not Jennifer, not anyone, could ever take that away from me. Sometimes the universe takes everything from you to show you what you're really made of. Sometimes the greatest wins come from the deepest losses. And sometimes the family you choose is worth more than anything you inherit.